Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the latest edition of Us Dementia, the Two Terms podcast, looking to raise awareness and understanding of dementia and its impact on people. In our latest episode, we got kind contribution for Lewis Yim. Lewis has worked in a biomedical startup for the last 5 years, and they specialise in the research and development of treatments for Alzheimer's, Parkinson's and other neuro issues. Just to move us on, and Gary?
Basically, every single episode we'd like to provide you with some statistics, whether they're scary or no, generally they are. I looked into some sort of recent facts and figures, and in Scotland in October 2024, there were 566 people died diagnosed with dementia, 204 men and 362 women, which I thought was quite sort of disproportionate. When you look at a larger section, within the UK in 2022, there were 23,000 men died, but 42,000 women. So that disparity is consistent. It's a hell of a scale of numbers. Maybe at some point we'll have a guest on that can explain to us why it's that. But that's just some more dementia statistics.
It's an unusual number for me. I tend to hear about guys having dementia for some reason. Yeah, my dad, people's granddads. I don't often hear about females. That's a great statistic.
Yeah, probably right. I mean, even looking at the care home, there was a lot more women in the care home where my dad was.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's something that seems to be more evident. It's the males. It's I don't know.
We just talk more about it.
I don't know.
So the focus of today's episodes of treatment. So in terms of treatment and medication or whatever, what was your two's experience when you went through this with your fathers a few years ago? Was there any discussion about treatment or medication at any point?
For myself, no. They were talking about treatment today. It's good to maybe find out what the background to it is. But when Dad was diagnosed, I couldn't even tell you what he was put on. I didn't know if it was to stop it, stop it altogether or slow it down or whatever. And he seemed to have quite a lot of tablets to take as well. Seemed, looking back now, I should have really delved more into it. Asked what's he on, what's it doing, what's that, but we were told it should slow it down, but I have no idea. I wasn't sure. I don't know about yourself. I wasn't sure what he was.
No, my dad, he had heart problems anyway, so he was in a squad of tablets. So when he was actually diagnosed, we asked the same question: is there actually any sort of medication for it? And the answer was no, not really. He's on enough to thin his blood, open his veins, blah blah blah. So anything that he was already on was something that was going to help him anyway, but it wasn't going to slow anything down. But again, you were just waiting for, here you go, here's a prescription, here's something magic it's going to sort.
I kept
that'd be interesting to find out for Lewis exactly where we are with that.
Yeah,
I think progress is.
A great thing to hear. I'm thinking for myself, my memory's not the best, but we're at a certain age. But I keep thinking, surely there's going to be something you can go get a test. I don't know how to get a test. And get a tablet that's going to just stop it where it is, but I don't know. I don't know what's on the go. I don't know what they're doing in the background.
Well, hopefully we'll bring Lewis in and he can maybe enlighten us a little bit more about current state of play and what the progress is in development of treatments, and we'll see where we go from there.
Yeah, perfect. And then we'll have a bit of beer tasting at the end, maybe.
Well, we'll hear a wrap up and we'll discuss what the expert has actually said, and then we'll get a beer. Yeah, okay. You're just too anxious.
No, I just think it's entertainment.
So what happens if a cause of dementia is too much alcohol? Where do you stand on it?
Actually, never been the case. I don't think it's ever been proven.
Aye.
Anyway, we digress.
I know.
We digress.
Right, let's look forward to having a yacht with Lewis.
1, 2, 3. Good afternoon. Thank you very much. I'd like to introduce Lewis Yim, who's been kind enough to join this afternoon. Lewis has worked for a biomedical startup for the last 5 years that specialises in Alzheimer's research and treatment development. So Lewis, first of all, just want to tell us a wee bit about your background and how you got involved in this field.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I kind of fell into it by accident, to be honest with you. Like a lot of people from the northeast of Scotland, I was working in the energy sector for over 10 years. And then one AI startup that I was working with, their investor was also an investor of this biotech company. And during the COVID time, working from home, basically made the jump over to this company who were pivoting into sort of COVID. That company then evolved into focusing more on their neuro pipeline, which is focused really on Alzheimer's and Parkinson's.
Excellent. So did you have any particular relationship with Alzheimer's or beforehand? And
Yeah.
what impact did it have on you?
Yeah, I mean, it was something that hit home when we decided to repivot into the neuro pipeline, because my grandmother suffered with Alzheimer's for about 20 years. She lived with it, to the point where the last 5 years she was actually in hospice. Was non-verbal for 5 years. In the last 2 years, couldn't even eat. Was fed through a tube.
Terrible.
So I seen directly the impact it has, not just on obviously the patient, but the people, the families around it, and the people to support it as well. So yeah, it's had a pretty profound impact on my family and my life.
So it must be nice to be trying to do something positive to put a stop to this.
Yeah, I mean, if you know, either ourselves or companies around the world can actually, you know, move forward with treatment to work, then I mean that saves millions of people. I mean, I think it's 50 million of just over 55 million. The World Health Organization came up with last year, and by 2030, I think the number is around about 150 million. So 3 times that in the next 25 years. It's crazy.
It's terrifying actually when you see numbers like that. Yeah. Just to start us off, can you tell us a wee bit more about what you actually do in this field and what your role is?
Yeah, actually a really important point, because I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a clinician. I actually came from the world of technology.
Okay.
So I'm there to support everything from whether we're leveraging AI to try and develop a peptide sequence a bit more efficiently and faster to try and identify a drug candidate, or even more simply to ensure our lab scientists have their instruments that can talk to each other. So, you know, my perspective really, you know, chatting to you today is really from someone who's worked in the domain, not as a scientist or someone from a medical background.
But okay, I mean, it kind of leads me into, well, given that complexity of this role, how does the industry develop these treatments and how they go about it, a bit more about the process and the kind of mechanism of how it all comes together?
Yeah, it's you know, like being part of the whole end-to-end of what our current pipeline is, from early research through to the different stages of the clinical pipeline. So clinical trials go from early research to an IND, to then to phase 1 or phase 2 to phase 3, before they can effectively go for marketing, which is, you know, an approved and usable drug. That stage for all drugs around the world can be, you know, typically very long, but even longer and even more worse or harder to get through that pipeline in that neuro space. It takes a long time from proving to the next part, and really the parts of that is really down to the different requirements from the different regulatory bodies around the world will determine whether you can or cannot move on forward to the next stage.
So here's a question for you, Lewis. I mean, we obviously hear about quite a lot of organisations doing similar work as your company as well. Do the companies actually ever meet to discuss how far advanced they are, or is it a race to get something approved and into the market first? Is it a commercial thing as well?
Yeah, so with drug development, there is, I'll try and be, you know, as the non-scientist and as let's just say a lecky amongst everybody within the domain, there's a combination of racing, because at the end of the day, when you have a marketable product, you're making money.
Yeah.
Right? But academia has a huge involvement in just proving the research and really there for patient first, right? Our organization has been very vocal about being patient first and things like that. And a lot of companies are, and rightly so. Otherwise, you shouldn't be doing it if you're just there to make money. But do they combine their technologies? Do they combine their research? Not as transparently as collaborating, but there's a lot of collaboration partners. You know, small biotechs like ourselves can't. It's impossible for us to meet the demands of a huge, large-scale clinical trial without one of the, you know, the larger pharmaceutical companies or a large institutional investor or even a government organization.
Of course, yeah.
And is there a particular focus of the development of this stuff, Lewis, or is it about identification, about treatment? Is there different approaches to treatment, or is there a degree of consensus around the way forward?
Specifically talking about Alzheimer's, it's extremely complex, so complex that, you know, as a non-scientist, I can say they don't agree, right? They don't agree on what are the root causes of Alzheimer's.
Okay.
And if you can't agree on what the root cause is, how do you then agree on a specific treatment for it?
Sure.
Right? At the moment, there's areas that are more backed than others,
right?
And there's areas or there's theories that have been debunked, and some have taken the spotlight versus others. But in terms of, to answer your question, what areas of focus right now, at the moment, there is no treatment, there is no cure, there is no preventive measure. So really the focus is on treatment right now, is how do you arrest the decline of the symptoms that people get with Alzheimer's.
Okay, that's good. Good. And we got the COVID vaccine. I guess you maybe already can answer this, but in the COVID scenario and the urgency of the situation got us the vaccine within a year. Why is this taking so long?
Yeah, I guess a combination of some of the bits I mentioned there, that it's taken, but COVID on its own, it's an infectious disease that's very clear cut, right? It was a very easy and well understood infectious disease, and it was pretty obvious when someone had COVID. It was easy to diagnose.
Sure.
It's not so easy to diagnose Alzheimer's, and it's not so easy to prove that what you've actually, prove the efficacy or how effective your treatment is or your therapeutic is compared to what a COVID vaccine really was. So, and then, there's the geopolitical backing that it has, right? It was, it stopped the world, and it had the backing of governments. There was billions of dollars and pounds put into, getting something to market. And that was what accelerated that pipeline. If the same level of the entire world getting right behind Alzheimer's or any other neuro pipeline, could we bring it to market in a year? Most likely not, because the disease itself takes years and years to generate and takes years and years to prove. I mean, it's a slow forming medical condition in the first place. So to prove it is going to take a long time. But could we accelerate that faster with that same level? I mean, if we just, if COVID aside, if we had that same level of exposure and same level of commitment and money invested into it, could we accelerate it? Absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
So they are working towards a cure then? Bottom line, it can be done to stop it altogether, or is it mainly kind of hold it back, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean. So right now, or as the end of 2024, right now in the clinical domain of things that are in either in earlier research or further down in the phase 2, phase 3 sort of area, there's about 145 drugs or therapeutics right now being actively worked on. I mean, that's a lot of people, taking a shot at goal, right?
Sure.
So ideally, if we can get to a treatment, the future really is then to build that into a preventative.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. I mean, obviously a lot of promise for the future, but that seems quite a way off. Some of that. Is there anything available today that could help in any of these circumstances?
There's a few. There's few treatments available if you've got friends or family that are or anyone that is suffering from Alzheimer's. Typically it depends on what stage they're at, right? The current main areas. So talking a bit more about the symptoms or Alzheimer's itself, if you don't mind, there's a couple of products that have been recently raised to market that have gained a lot of press. Aducanumab was the sort of big one that's been approved in the UK, but not approved under NHS. It's been approved privately. It's available in the US, and I think certain insurance providers will allow you to get it. But that really is just for early stage, right? And that again, what that's doing is slowing down or reducing the amount of plaque buildup that you have, the amyloid plaque that builds up, which causes those blockages in the neural pathways, which then what is actually effectively causing Alzheimer's. So if as they're available today, they're taken as an IV every couple of weeks, so they're not really efficient,
right? And
they're with all due respect to the industry, it's brutally expensive. We're talking in the range of 40 to 80,000 pounds a year is what it could cost for a treatment for one patient. It would cripple the NHS if that was something that was available on the NHS today.
Okay.
So it is available, but not.
And what's the reason? I mean, you mentioned there that it's obviously been approved by certain providers. What's the reason that the NHS haven't approved that? Is it cost prohibitive?
It's cost prohibitive. Okay. It's cost prohibitive.
Okay.
Is the main thing.
Yeah. Okay.
And these the way that the drug is or the way the therapeutic is designed is called a monoclonal antibody, right? So your body produces antibodies, but you can do these in bioreactors. You can make that reaction happen in bioreactors separate from the body, and then by IV, by intravenous, you can put that into the body. That process, it costs an absolute fortune. So it's not like the drug provider is lining their pockets and making it that expensive. It's just a generally very, very expensive process to get there. So I wanted to clarify that it's not somebody counting pennies and wanting to capitalize on the need for it. It is generally just a very expensive process.
Okay. And giving someone an IV treatment every 2 weeks is probably quite resource intensive as well.
Yeah, exactly. From a people perspective,
Real
from a hospital
hospital
perspective, yeah, it's not the most efficient. But the treatments are there, and the studies and the results have shown that there has been some improvement for those that are on it.
I guess it's kind of a wee bit frustrating that when you look at the statistics, and from memory, it's something like 1 in 11 people in the UK over the age of 65 has some form of dementia. Some of the stats I've looked up before, it's the biggest cause of death in the UK as well. It's just a wee bit frustrating that it isn't fast tracked. And I understand it because it is a very expensive, but because it's the #1 killer, you'd like to think that you maybe should be. Governments are now they're agreeing to have a certain percentage of their GDP on defence, etc. Surely it would make sense for every single government to say we need to have a certain amount of money allocated regardless towards research for Alzheimer's as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And collectively, the cost is governed by whoever is delivering the services, right? So if as not to go too political, but if the cost or the barriers could be brought down holistically across the board to bring the whole thing down, then the investments will come. You talk about the UK's investment. I think I tallied up a few of the various programs that are available right now. I think the most notable one recently, I think, was around about £95 million, £95 million. Sorry, I work for an American company, so everything we talk about is in dollars. The £95 million was committed to the Barbara Windsor Foundation to look at the cure and treatments for Alzheimer's. I think collectively there was a few others. I think tallied up around about just over 200 million was committed by the UK government. Unfortunately, if you look at large-scale clinical trials, one of those companies, talk about 140, right, that are out there, not all in the same stage, but a phase 2, phase 3 trial could cost 300 to 500 million. So if the entire pot of cash available only covers 20% of one of those trials to go through, it's still not enough. Right?
Sure.
And is that the treatment you mentioned, is that the only one that's kind of on the market just now? Is there any others available?
So the treatments I talk about, there's lecanemab, and there's another one that's I can't remember the name of it, the market product, but it's from Eli Lilly. Those are the most those are disease modifying treatments. So they're actually modifying the other things that are available right now. There's a couple of other therapies that are just effectively medicine you can take, but again, they're to reduce symptoms, right? They're not to arrest the cognitive decline that people get. And they're still, even, and then some of those are reducing the cognitive decline. Whether you're going to get that back is debatable, right? I mean, most of the time, a lot of the things, when memories are gone, right? They're not able to be brought back. And the saddest part is, to be able to start some of these treatments, you need to be diagnosed, right? And I talked about a little bit about the amyloid plaque that's built up. People can have that building up and aggregating in your brain for several years before you even started noticing it. I mean, we talked about the bit on my family, and anyone who suffers from dementia, there's a bit that it can be a bit of a family joke where auntie or granny forgets the name of so and so, or does something daft, or lose their phone, or goes off on a walk somewhere, but those jokes, they don't turn very funny after a while, and unfortunately, by the time they realize, okay, this is no longer funny, we need to get you tested, we need to check it out, it's a bit late.
I guess that's what happened to Tom's dad and my dad as well. It was basically a case of, we recognised something wasn't right, they were diagnosed, they were told that obviously you've got dementia, and the question was, okay, medication? Nah, sorry, nothing for you. And that was terrible to hear that news.
Yeah.
And I can understand it might be, you know, a long time until we actually get to that stage. But it's just terrible there's nothing there when they're at a certain stage in that journey, I suppose.
Just turn a wee bit more at the future. What do you think the future holds, and sort of timelines for getting there? Taking on board your constraints,
Yeah,
resource and investment and like.
timelines, I you know, is a stab in the dark, right? I don't want to comment on timelines, but what I can say is you know, reflecting back, that there's more and more people and more companies, I should say, developing a pipeline, committing to it. It's getting more and more traction over the years. The stats themselves are there to prove that it's worsening. It's becoming the next big epidemic, so to speak, with the amount of exposure that it gets that we talked about. Hopefully that then escalates. These 140 that are in the pipeline, hopefully it turns into 300 in the pipeline. You know, we talked about a little bit earlier about we talked a little bit earlier on about the misalignment or misguided the understanding of what is actually the root cause of Alzheimer's. For me, the future is that there is alignment on it.
Okay.
Once they have established defined biomarkers and they can start defining exactly what the root causes are, then the progress will accelerate from there. And that way we can move things a little bit faster. The investment will go exactly where it needs to go, rather than other nuanced theories that might distract from what is actually the main root cause.
So once you get that consensus, you can focus on developing a solution and drive things forward.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Lewis, thank you very much.
Appreciate
Anything
it.
else you want to add just before we finish?
No, I mean, I just want to thank you guys for putting the series together. I think the reason the awareness and you know, what it can build is truly remarkable. All the work that you guys have done towards this cause, I think, has been fantastic. So grateful to be part of it.
Super. Lewis, thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for
Podcast
coming on.
then.
Yeah,
Cheers,
cool.
Lewis.
Thank you.
Super. Thank you very much to Lewis for that. Quite enlightening to hear about the volume of treatments, but a wee bit disheartening to hear about the lack of certainty and the overall lack of progress. But the fact that there's so much activity going on is positive, but there's nothing immediately available. So I'm not entirely sure how I feel after hearing that. Obviously very grateful to Lewis, and he's really enlightening and illuminating conversation on state of play. But in terms of the overall progress, it's kind of scary how much is still to be done, and the scale of the challenge ahead. I don't know what you guys think.
Good to hear that there is something going. There's a lot of companies doing stuff. Like you say, it's disheartening to hear that's not a silver bullet at the moment. It's not looking like it's going to be, but at least there are people working on it. I think the big thing is money. It takes a help. I had a lot more money than I would have. I knew it was millions, but it takes a lot of money to just get something through. It's just a pity we couldn't just have that focus totally on,
I mean,
getting the cure. Or
It's a fact it is the sort of number one killer globally. So you'd like to think that governments would actually collaborate, talk to one another, but it's what I touched on with Lewis as well, with putting him in a position. It's like, it's a commercial thing as well. It's a race to get it approved. And because of that, there's maybe a lot of collaboration. I don't know. I'm just speculating with that, but you just think it would be something that governments globally would actually talk about the progress and identify common things that they pick up in their research and develop upon that. I don't know. It's Frank said before, it is a wee bit disheartening. Although Lewis was never going to say, yes, we've got this and this and this, and this is a time scale. We'll obviously realise that, but it's still a bit disheartening to find out that it's still just a question mark when you further forward with that.
But still the uncertainty about what even causes dementia in the first place.
I
There's
know.
a lot of work to be done just to understand the causes, and I think until we properly understand what's going on, it's going to be difficult to converge behind a solution to actually make the progress we need.
But then I guess you never know. They could come up, they might hit on something and
Aye.
they get a kind of breakthrough. And I guess if we keep raising money the way we're trying to raise money and try to help as much departments as we can, but you never know what's going to come through.
I guess on the sort of flip side, I mean, we're obviously limited to what we can do and Lewis's side of things, but it's maybe a bit of a positive thing for us to write until that actually comes as a definitive drug there to sort it out. If we're raising money, we're trying to help the people here and now that we can make an impact on.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what we're trying to do. We're raising money for charities and it may be when them and help us in the future, but we can maybe help folk here and now by just raising a wee bit of money for them and let the grown-ups look at the medications.
I think so, yeah. If we can
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
keep opening people's eyes to if it's available, we've maybe started a good thing. Maybe just our next couple of guests will help out as well with how you can cope with it. And at least for finding new stuff.
I mean, I guess the whole reason for us doing this was to sort of discuss various different aspects of dementia, the impacts in the farm life, what they're trying to do. And it's an episode that we probably knew deep down that it is what it is, and it's not going to, it's not going to be any short-term fix to sort it, but it is what it is.
I think that's the whole rationale of why we're doing this, is realising that there's nothing there just now, and it's just looking, it's a long haul, and you've got to look after yourself and the person involved. So anything we can do to help with that is why we're trying this.
And everyone's in the same boat. They're not expecting a miracle cure, so you've got to deal with the here and now. So at least we're dealing with how you get help, where you go, and if anybody needs help.
I guess one thing that Lewis touched on, the organisation he's working for, and also similar organisations have been working on this for decades. So it is obviously something very tough to crack. But you're right, when you get the diagnosis, you just think you're going to get a prescription and that's it. But there's nothing there at all. So I guess what we're trying to do is help people in other ways to make the journey a bit more easier for them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So what's next, gentlemen?
I think that was good. As I say, we've discussed another aspect of it. We're hoping that it helps somebody here, whether it's good or bad or indifferent, but because we've got various different episodes covering different aspects, we'll hopefully the next one might be a bit more cheery, but never mind.
Thank you very much, guys.
And I think we'll now get some beer tasting done, will we?
Sounds like a plan.
I think that's the main thing. You've got to enjoy a beer now and again if you're going through a hard time.
Of course you have.
And I think we'll end on a positive.
A leather and a beer.
Of leather
and leather and a beer.
Self-care. It's
Yeah.
important.
Perfect time to do it.
Hello, good afternoon. We're back here at Sabrosa to wrap up our episode of 2 Times Dementia Us podcast with our beer of the week. And this week we have Obar. So over to Tommy and Gary to give it a taste and let us know what they think.
Just before we taste it, just let you folks know, this was chosen by Archie the barman from OGV Tap Room. We're actually in Sabrosa, which is the events bar under the Windmill Brae. If you're as old as us, you'll remember it as Henry J. Beans. Had plenty of names, but that was back in the day, back in the 80s.
The good old days.
Yeah, so, but let's do some tasting, Tom.
Yeah, let's unwind and do a bit of beer tasting. We'll give you our expert opinion on what we think. Oh, you get a bit of a dump Thursday afternoon.
I'm thinking corduroy jeans.
Are the tight ones?
No. Flared.
Are they flared?
I think you flared that, definitely.
I didn't get any flared.
Taste that again, see if it...
A bit frayed at the bottom. Yeah,
Exactly, definitely.
It's refreshing again. That's a nice one. Yeah.
But it's not quite tenants. It's not tenants, but it's nearly. But if push come to shove, you would drink it anyway. Okay. No, it's actually a fantastic beer. This is one of OGV's own brewed ones as well. So thanks to the guys at OGV for
recommended by
Archie the barman.
Thanks, Archie.
Archie the barman recommended this. So come down and have a sample of this if you want.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for listening.
Perfect. Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Cheers you.